So let me tell you, when I saw the video, I actually was like, oh my goodness, the students and the reaction of the lecturer. First of all, me personally as a lecturer in the UK, you generally don't respond to these kind of things because I believe the student was just talking, saying who is this and doing all kind of womanly things, body language and eyes and all that, but not necessarily that obvious. I think because it's a crowded space and people are moving noisy, I imagine, for the lecturer to really hear. So generally we tend to just avoid confrontation. I personally do, and I think most lecturers here. So most likely we will just ignore that comment like we did not hear and just carry on with your day and what you are aiming to do. But the other thing is, so him going back, the lecturer going back and having that confrontation with the students and apparently seizing her phone and all of that, I think here in the UK, we most likely would avoid it. We don't like confrontation, so we would just ignore or pretend like we did not hear. And I think part of the reason why that really is maybe most lecturers' reality in the UK is honestly, to be honest, you really don't get that much support in this UK. We don't, it's almost like you're not anyone's father, parent, or even guardian, even if you're not old enough to be their parent, guardian to be able to, or to think of influencing morals in an individual. So that means does this behavior, most time, is this behavior affecting them in terms of their academic pursuits and all that? If not, nobody cares. Honestly, nobody cares. And the other thing, I'm telling you, you will be surprised. But, I mean, not surprised, but the other thing is most times students are supported by the universities. It's just so sad that we teach all of this so-called academic and whatever across, people come from across the world, but when it comes to morals, we just do not. The universities just completely do not make effort in that regard. So much so, and again, it's a university. You expect people to be adults and behave like as such. And for example, in the UK, you only come to uni from age 18. So you definitely are an adult at that point, at least classified as one. However, we see a lot of things. I personally have had students, talk stuff in class. You have disrespectful activity like playing. I've had someone sad situation. I've actually had someone watch a series. Literally, they were watching a whatever type of series, but it was a seasonal show they were watching in class while teaching. You have students eat, as they like and whatever in class. You have, and some of those are justified because sometimes, the classes are long or they just don't have time to catch up on lunch or breakfast, and it may be justified and understandable. But it's also the way it's done. Students are a bit more, especially the undergraduate students. I have to say, the undergraduate students, they present as they have a bit of more confidence, and it's their rights. They've got this and they have to do it, or they can do it, compared to postgrad. And I think the difference really is because most people come to study postgrad outside the UK. So you find that most international students are in the postgrad programs, and they come with more self-awareness, respect, professionalism, for their courses most time, compared to the undergrad, where it's almost like it's my privilege, it's my right, and you have that sort of demeanor that student presents. So all of that being said, I think it is such a time that I look at my experience of dealing with some of these students, for example, I've had students who we had a Viva meeting with, and these students completely refused to have that Viva because they said the document that was presented, they are not going to use that document. So they actually repeat, like it was, you have been picked for academic misconduct, and we are having a Viva to ascertain if it is a misconduct and what the penalty will be. And you were so confident, this student was so confident that they actually declined to have that Viva as a result of the Viva team must use a particular document that they want us to use, and if we don't use that, they are not going to have it. And interestingly, at the end, they won because they went to the complaint team and they complained that they are not going to look at any other document except that document. And most 89% or 99%, I would say, most times student complaint are upheld, and this was upheld, and we just had to give the student their full mark and let them go their merry way. That was that. I've had students screamed, not at me, actually screamed and shouted at a colleague while I was present, stormed out of a meeting and slammed the door. And I'm just thinking, wow, my experience studying in Nigeria, I can't, like you don't even see your supervisor, you don't even get to see them. And when you do, you are absolutely appreciating the time and soaking in all of the information you're getting. But instead, this person, because we requested they do certain things as part of their project, which they were upset about because they did not want to do, they stood up, screamed at my colleague right in front of me, who were there, screamed at my colleagues, stormed out of the meeting, slammed the door, and refused, they're not going to do it. And eventually they petitioned that we don't support them again on their program. And that's the end of that. So, you just see those kind of examples of where morals can be instilled. But most time when you have such situations, students are supported by the uni. It almost feels like you as a lecturer, you're just here to deliver the knowledge and be quiet about anything else. It's very difficult for you to win any case as a lecturer or as a member of staff around behavior, around professionalism. If it's not something that is obvious, like student, I don't know, maybe beating up a lecturer, God forbid that happens, or something very dramatic. If it's not, you just don't win a case. You just don't, for that particular case of the one that we lost to an extent as a lecturer, we lost because after putting in all the work for so many meetings, and the gain we would have gotten is having this person complete. And guess what? Because they just did not like that we asked them to do some work that is expected of them. They just felt like we are requesting of too much of them. Petitioned, and they were moved to some other people for doing our job. So anyway, I know it's a long story, but it's just in comparison to what I'm seeing in the media and what I've seen as part of my experience in Nigeria and now lecturing in the UK. I just feel like we shouldn't, and I think I tweeted about this last week or so, we should not lose the morals that we have as. Because if you compare our international students in my current uni and even the previous ones compared to our home students, you see the difference. You see the level of professionalism, the maturity, the respect. There was a day I was going to class, which I don't know, but there was a day I was going to class and a student was like, "Oh, Dr. Fala, your bags are so heavy. Can I help you with them?" And I was like, no, I'm good. But just even that offer, it was so thoughtful of them. But that's the level, which we don't need, of course, but that's the level our international students will go to compared to most likely our home students. And I'm not saying there are no home students that are, respectful and professional and, morally upright, but I'm just saying sometimes you can't see that difference. And as I saw that video I'm just like, I hope this is not something that, globalization is now taking away from us, where a lecturer is actually passing through your video and you could not. Fine, I know she was, with her back to him, so she didn't really see him prior, but it shouldn't be a reason for you to be so upset, look him up and down, because she kind of look at him like, dude, I don't know how to do that thing again. Oh God, I've missed some skills. She eyed him up, down, and then said some, stuff. I can't remember the exact word, but said some things that offended the lecturer. And I'm thinking and hoping that it's not because of how globalized, we now are as, part of a global village, so to speak, where we're seeing some of these really upsetting things online that is being done abroad, where students are making different noises and different, just doing different unprofessional, immature stuff in class or to their lecturers, or just degrading in such a way that that level of respect is no longer there. I hope that's not, because that is something good that we have, and we should, when I say we have, I'm talking about, countries like Nigeria and some other countries that still hold that core value of not only building knowledge, but also moral at the same time, where you're being found worthy in terms of, your qualification, but also in your character as a person, as a professional that you aim to be when you graduate. So yeah, that's just my take on it. I just feel like it's not a nice video to see, but I also personally, I feel like it was, I don't know if it was a social media buzz around it and, the interest or whatever, but I feel like expulsion, because when I read that the student has been expelled, I don't know, but I just feel like it's a bit too harsh. Personally, I think there's learning process for everyone, and I think that can be a learning process for that student. So having that student expelled, I'm not sure how they come about that outcome, what the process, the panel process, and the decision making of that. But I just feel personally that it was a bit too harsh as an outcome. But then I also think I read somewhere that somebody is giving scholarship. Somehow these things, these attitudes are rewarded at some point. Someone on social media decide, yeah, scholarship, go study abroad or something. I don't think that's also a good outcome. I mean, I'm happy for the students if they are able to make something out of this, but I just feel like you don't want to encourage, such rebellious or deviant attitude. However, I also feel like just expulsion is just way too out of line. I don't see the reason, although we're trying to instill knowledge and moral, but I feel like it was just too much. And I think it may be because of the media buzz around it that the uni decide to go that extreme. But there are processes to things, and I think if a panel objectively assess what happened, again, I wasn't there, but just assess what happened, shouldn't be as much as expelling a student. I think there are more serious situations that will warrant that, not this one. But hey ho, here's what we have. So that being said, that's my view. I think it's a good thing that we should try and uphold our morals, as we have been, because we have products that are coming out of Nigeria and Africa as a whole to countries like the UK, US, and whatever, and they really represent well, which is something that we like. But also, the country is becoming, or the globe is becoming smaller, but that doesn't mean we should lose value or we should lose sight of what we have as something that is valuable. And yeah, and also just to say that in the UK, based on my experience, you as a lecturer, you hardly have any, well, no, maybe some, but very, very limited say when it comes to morals or how a student behave. Most time they just get away with stuff, and half the time you just want to save yourself the headache and just ignore them like you did not see that and just carry on. which means we are not necessarily concerned about morals or character building and the rest of that. Anyway, that's me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.